Oh, I've not thought this through, have I?
And the subject letter for the newsletter was biggest sim racing news in history.
No, I think it's got a whiff of F122 sofas. Hello and welcome to the Traxion Control Podcast. We're back. We're going to try and be a bit more regular and a slightly different format than previous ones. But the lineup is the same. So I'm Tom, also joined by Tom, and then by, no, not Tom, but John. And we're going to talk about sim racing and also racing games. So the trending topics at the minute, but also community feedback. And, well, let's just dive into the first one. The big topic of the recent few days has been the Forza Horizon 6 gameplay showcase from Xbox Developer Direct. And for all intents and purposes, it was spectacular. Myself and John have done a separate piece on this, but we've not heard Tom Bunton's thoughts. So Tom, Forza Horizon 6, was that an interesting showcase for you? Well,
I have a dirty secret. That is, I have never played any of the Forza Horizon franchise. I know it's bad. And I'd love to say it's because I'm some kind of hardcore sim racing purist. It's not. I think maybe growing up as a PlayStation guy, always been a Gran Turismo person, Forza Horizon, and even Forza Motorsport. You know, it never really tickled my pickle, and so I just have very little interest in it. However, the showcase has made me want to dive into this franchise, and I think Forza Horizon 6 will be my stepping off point. A lot of people have suggested to me that I go back to 4, skip out 5, but give 4 a little go to get hyped for 6. And I'm sure there's some unpacking to do there about why I would start at 4 and not 5 or 1, 2, or 3. But yeah, I am excited for it. There's a couple of things that it reminded me of. One was the Need for Speed franchise. The idea of living in the cars that you're presented with in game, right, and being able to drive around a city. The other, a much more recent comparison, wild take perhaps, but iRacing Arcade. The idea that you build up your estate in the same way in iRacing Arcade, you build up, like, it's kind of like it's almost like a Grand Theft Auto Sim City meets racing, i.e. there is a world that you build your garage, you customize your garage, you drive in and out of your garage, and then that whole estate thing where you build what looks like some sort of motorsport campus in the game. That does excite me. I mean, recently I was talking about in our weekly newsletter about, do sim racing games need to be more fun? Are we losing the element of fun in exchange for realism, and is that necessarily a good thing? And I don't know, Forza Horizon 6 looks to me like a perfect overlap in the Venn diagram of, I can get my I can scratch my sim racing itch. I can have this kind of like career manager mode, and then also have a free roam element to it. And it looks stunning. So that was a very long way of saying, yeah, it looks great.
I'm glad you got the name of the estate right, because we were really struggling with that at the time. Actually, it was about 4 different names for the base. But yeah, it's funny you should mention. I don't know. I think the estate thing very much excited me straight away. That was one of the things that stood out to me the first time I watched Developer Direct. But I've sort of been like reading between the lines the last few days over what that is, and I'm a little bit concerned now. This is fresh new insight after we've published all our videos. I don't know if I'm a little bit concerned that it's made to look like you're going to be able to build this crazy big base, but actually you're going to unlock the base, and then it's more going to be just the base is unlocked, and then you can sort of build events with Events Lab within the base or something. I'm a bit like, I don't want to get too excited about what the base actually looks like, because I realize that the developers direct, I believe it's called, just wasn't super specific. So I'm tempering myself slightly, but it's a cool idea.
No, I think it's got a whiff of F122 sofas, but only a whiff.
Smell of the leather.
Yeah, it could be amazing. No, but honestly, Tom, I'm totally with you there in terms of, there are millions of people who are into racing games who've never played Forza Horizon because it was never on the most popular console device. And it was a Microsoft franchise through and through. That changed last year with 5 came to PlayStation, and 4 years later at full price, it was still in the first 6 months of the year the best-selling PS5 game, full stop. And so the key thing from the showcase as well for me was that they did confirm PlayStation is still this year, even if it's not at launch. whereas I thought it could be 2-3 years later. So this is the right time for people to jump in who have put off this franchise for a while. And you mentioned there 4 instead of 5. Yeah, I actually do like 5, but 4 has aged better. But I think people need to go back and try it to, is there that element of rose-tinted spectacles for 4? But there's no doubt in my mind the environment is way better than 5, but 5 has a bit more of a structure. The only thing is with 4, Tom, can you even buy it anymore?
Hey, this is not my world. This is not my wheelhouse.
I don't think you can.
Horizon has passed me by. So
yeah, I think sadly the only way you could get it would be a used disc and an old console. Sorry, John.
Yeah. No. It's interesting that you're jumping on the train now, Tom, and I'm envious of your position somewhat because I jumped on the Forza Horizon 4 train. That was the first one for me, which is a good place to start based on what everyone seems to say that it was the best. It's potentially the best of the series, but just being able to relive that first Horizon experience over again would be so cool because you do, over the only 2 games that I've played, you do begin to see, okay, I can see this being the same again, or I can see more of this, and I can see how this has only changed slightly and stuff. But that first experience of Forza Horizon is special just because there's so much to unpack and everything's new and shiny. And it's just like, oh my goodness, there's crazy toys there and there's sweets in the corner and there's chocolate over there and whatever it is, it's incredible. So I do envy you a little bit on that. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited for this too. So clearly that, even though I've played a couple of them already, there's still that excitement there, just to a different degree.
So I guess maybe if I'm a representative of a lot of people who haven't played the Horizon franchise, perhaps most of our listeners or a lot of our listeners will be more sim racers. So they may have dabbled with Forza Motorsport, not necessarily Forza Horizon, if they thought that Motorsport was going to be a Gran Turismo-esque style of gameplay. There's 2 worries that I have about Forza Horizon that maybe you guys could address. And I'll just say both of them. The first one is Forza Motorsport, to me, was cripplingly confusing when it came to tuning your cars and adding points to this and points to that and balancing this and balancing that and getting open lobbies with all these different systems going at once. And then the second is, does Forza Horizon handle like Forza Motorsport? Are we expecting a more dumbed down handling physics model, or should we expect, does the Forza Horizon series have a Simcade, sim-like feel to it?
Well, the latter one, it's not. It's not even close to Simcade. Like, it's just really pliant and controllable. And I suppose they're just aiming to be accessible as possible. So it's just, you don't have to think about your driving prowess. I don't think like a sim. Yeah,
you can drift at 150 miles an hour, can't you? Like you can, it's different.
And also, I don't really like actually sometimes how you're in a slide and you apply opposite lock with your analog stick on a controller, and then sometimes it can be very easy to overcorrect, and it feels a bit strange in that transition from slide to straight again. I always think that other games do that better. Dare I say, Crew Motorfest, just in that one element of the handling. So,
Mafia: The Old Country.
Mafia: The Old Country, which you did mention the other day, drives really well for an open world game. Right? No, so there is that. So don't expect. And you can actually see a little bit of that weird handling. I think not strange because it's a really enjoyable drive, but there's just a quirk to it in the showcase where there's one shot of a Honda NSX in a tight Tokyo street, and as it does a drift, as it comes out of the drift, it goes a bit weird, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's Forza Tech, which I think is what the game engine is.
It's Forza Horizon.
Yeah, you can. One very quick thing though is they are going to finally address the steering wheel angle, which has been a perennial issue with all Forza Horizon games, which is if you're in cockpit camera, the animation will only ever go quarter of a turn, even if you're turning more. And they showed a very brief clip of that in the showcase. So that opens up the conversation to maybe having a little bit more of a realism, especially if you've got a wheel peripheral, but I don't know. And then I've completely forgotten the first part. What was it?
Will I need a calculator and a notebook to work out how powerful my car is going to be relative to others?
No, I don't think you do, but you will need a notebook and a pen for everything else. There's
it
so
is overwhelming.
even just to write down, where do I go to do certain things? Like, where do I need to go to change my car horn versus where do I need to go to buy a car? Do I buy a used car? Do I go to car meets now? Do I go to the, what event? What event am I aiming for right now? Am I doing this part of the career? Am I going for this story? What did Brian say to me 6 hours ago on the radio? I can't remember. How do I go back there? Am I doing a different event? It's overwhelming.
Brian. So on that note, I've already made an unlikely comparison with iRacing Arcade, which wasn't on the bingo card. However, if I enjoyed Need for Speed, will I enjoy Forza Horizon 6?
Yeah, I think so.
Because it feels like there's some overlaps. I've watched all of the Traxion videos and articles about Forza Horizon over the years, right? So I know what it is, but I've just never dived in really deep. And I think this is the first time I've seen it, and I've gone, ooh, is that a bit like Need for Speed that I miss?
Well, this actually leads us on to some community feedback, which I'll read out now, because one of the challenges in recent years has been a lack of structure, and Need for Speed has a lot more structure to it. There's generally, story is a bit pushing it, but there's a narrative of some sort, right? There is some sort of terrible cutscene or terrible plot, or you're a driver, and there's generally an end goal, and there's generally a path to progress through. Yeah, there might be open world bits, and there might be things you can drive to in your own free will, but there's a central spine. And Forza Horizon 4, for example, I don't think has anything like that. It's just a lot of random, different, disparate things on an open world map that's really good and really fun. But there's not really a clear goal. And with, as Luminal Spoon says here, and we asked for, we put out a couple of videos, and these are some of the top comments from those recently on our YouTube channel. Finally, they bring back wristbands. My biggest problem with 4 and 5 is I got bored with everything given to you too easily. And this is a key thing. So this was a part of the first part of the showcase. And I went back and played Forza Horizon 1 over the weekend to get some footage for a video. But in that, so you said you'd never played Forza Horizon before at all. And John, you said your first one was, I think, 4. I think my first one was 3. And I never actually played the first one. So I did that. And it has the open world, and it's set in Colorado, I think. And it has like speed camera things you can set records on. But it also has a festival vibe. And within that, you get a wristband. You very clearly have to win races to get points. The more points you get another wristband. It's actually on your character's wrist in the car. And then there's some cutscenes around it as well. So you've got your beginner wristband. Then you get up and up and up. And then if you get the final big one, you can enter the big race at the end, right? So they're adding back in this obvious structure and progression to 6. So that should, even if you don't know how to do the cartoons and the beats and all these weird hidden stuff, it sounds like there's going to be like a campaign.
I'd also like to just shout out user Luminal Spoon, because this is the second time in 1 week that he's been called out on some Traxion content.
Really?
Oh, really? Tom, the Traxion GT newsletter that you read line by line.
I do.
Luminal Spoon was our community spotlight last week for the best comment I think I've ever read on a Traxion video, and it was the video about Monosim, the upcoming title with 1 car and 4 tracks, and his comment was, 4 tracks, Jeremy, that's insane. And if you're a fan of Peep Show, you'll get it. And it just triggered a whole load of Peep Show related quotes underneath it, and it just really made my day. So Luminal Spoon,
and it helped our algorithm.
Congrats.
Well done.
Yeah,
you've boosted the chat.
So quickly moving on to the next one. Kuro Ano said, while I was impressed by what they showed, I will not hype myself until the game is out. I think that's a very valid opinion, right? We've been burned in recent times.
By many different games. I think that's probably the way that people are going now. I don't know about you guys, and maybe this is a topic for a whole different podcast, but there's a few games that I've had wishlisted for ages, and not all racing games. I quite like my strategy games as well. And a few of them came out early access in the last month or so, and I found myself going, in the past I would have downloaded that and given it a go, and now even though I'm excited for the early access, I'm just holding off for the 1.0 release, and I do wonder if that's perhaps a sign of the times, and that's the general trend.
Definitely. We will save that for another time, but you're right. The one thing I'd say about Horizon 6 is, though, because it's a big debate we need to talk about, listen, they've had 5 years. They've had 5 years. No. So, and it seems to be still based on the same game engine and tech. So, but this is a very, very valid point. listen, we can be excited for it. There's nothing wrong being excited. Just don't pre-order the $120 version. Yeah, just wait for the reviews. Yeah. Okay, and final point is this will be perfect in VR, especially PSVR 2 on PS5 Pro. I'm sorry to disappoint you. I do not think this is part of the plan.
Wow.
No.
There you go. To steal an observation from John before we started recording, it's another game in Japan.
Yes.
There's a lot of them.
Tokyo Extreme Racer reboot and Japanese Driftmaster. But hey, it's a cool location.
Gear Club Unlimited 3.
Yes. Oh, well, good one, John. So they're all coming out this year as well. I mean, some of those have already been out in early access on different platforms, but JDM comes out in February for PlayStation. Gear Club is February on Switch 2. Tokyo Extreme Racer is a PlayStation in February. So they're all coming out just a few months before Forza Horizon 6. Okay, we should move on, and I'm going to spring this upon John and Tom with a quiz. I've got a notebook and pen, so who knows how this will go? No pressure. So you can play along as well when you're listening and watching. It's very simple. 3 questions, 1 point if you get it right, no points if you get it wrong. How many games in Vijuta's Worden Racing Games series are there? And I'm going to say... I've not thought this through, have I? Write your answer down. Write your answer down.
And we'll come back to the answers down in my head.
Yeah, write it down in your head. Okay.
Teacher, can I have a pen and paper, please?
This is where the fact that I record 0.0 hours of content on all these titles is gonna come back to bite me.
Hey, it's all good. And we might not do these every week, but this is just a random one this time. Okay, so write your answer down. Okay, so second question is, in what year was the first Forza Horizon release? The very first Forza Horizon? And I can't remember. I didn't write the answers down, so I'm just going to quickly Google that.
You're playing alongside that. The perfect quizmaster.
I looked it up the other day because for this project we're working on. And anyway, right. The final question is, what was the last game to have the Pikes Peak hill climb? And I need you to write that down as well, please.
I'm sure I watched a Traxion video where
yes, you did.
John said this. He said it. What was it in though? It was.
I'm sorry. This is very much one that John will get because I know he's researching this.
I'm very sure. I think you've watched Traxion GG YouTube videos to come up with these questions.
Probably.
John has
I have seen a few of those.
That includes these answers.
Yeah, they're very topical, but in the future we'll come up with some others that are not so topical as well. Right. So. I'm going to ask Tom Bunton, what was the answer you gave for question number 1, please?
3.
Okay, John?
4.
Yeah, so here's the tricky thing. There was Super Worden GP, Super Worden GP2, and Super Worden Rally Edge, which is 3. Correct, Tom. And I've seen other articles of videos say 3, but it's actually 4. because before Super Worden, there was just Woden. And it's been permanently delisted, and you can never buy it or download it. I've never tried it. But... yeah, so 1 point to John. Right, first...
I'm not enjoying this segment, just...
No, okay.
Let the record show.
We're learning.
Should we do a bit of Flight Sim next week?
Experimenting. Yeah, there we go. Mafia questions next week.
History of Age of Empires, let's go.
So, question 2 was the year that the first Forza Horizon released. I'm going to say, John, what have you written down?
I have gone 2011.
Okay, interesting. Tom?
I've gone really early, right? Because I have a memory of playing this with a friend on the original Xbox. And I think I was about 13, 14 when I played it, which means it would be 2006. And that is so much earlier.
So I think what's happened here is you might have been thinking about the first Forza game, but I said Forza Horizon. So that was 2012. Oh. So neither of you are correct on that one.
When was the first Forza game?
That was on the first Xbox, and I can't remember. I don't know.
Next week's quiz. Hold on.
Next week's quiz?
Worth a bonus point.
I wouldn't have got that if that was a question. So to wrap up, let's go, John, again. Pikes Peak, the last game it ever appeared in. And just as an aside, we believe this is because Gran Turismo has an exclusive license. In the real-world event, all the cars have Gran Turismo banners on them. And yet, strangely, the track is not in Gran Turismo 7, so it seems a bit of a waste at this point. And it was...
Dirt Rally.
Tom?
I also put Dirt Rally.
Yes, you're both correct. So, John wins this first one 2-1, but we'll keep a running total over the year. I've said that now. Well, the quiz might never return. So, John, you might be the permanent champion.
I'll take it.
Right, so on to something else that's slightly different. We're going to do full send or dead end. I'm going to read out 3 statements. After each statement, Tom and John are just going to quickly say either they think it's full send, which means they agree with it, or a dead end, which they think, no, this is completely wrong. And again, we'll see how this goes. And then once we've gone through each one, we'll then go back to each and discuss why we've said those things as well. I'm also going to take part in this one, even though I came up with the points. Okay.
I was about to say you need to offer yours as well.
Yeah, okay. I'll offer my opinions. All right. First one. So we've talked about Forza Horizon and general gaming. Now we're going to talk some sims as well. 2026 is the year of Assetto Corsa EVO's resurgence. Full send or dead end, John?
Full send.
Tom?
Full send.
John sounded confident there, didn't he?
Yeah, full send with caveats, but that's literally not the point of this game.
So like half send.
Yeah, but that is not the point of this game.
Somewhat of a send.
Yeah, it's a half move down the inside, a peak, front nose.
I'm going to say dead end. Right. There will be another new NASCAR game in 2026 instead of a DLC pack for 2025. Tom, full send or dead end?
Dead end.
Dead end. John?
Dive bomb, full send.
I'm also going to say full send. But I felt bad wording this one because I saw something on the internet over the weekend. Yes, sorry, Tom.
Who writes this quiz?
Right, final one is Endurance Motorsport Series, which is an upcoming racing game that people get confused with Project Motor Racing and seems to be forgotten, is going to be Kilotons or KT Racing's slickest launch yet. Full send, dead end, Tom.
Wishful thinking, full send.
I'm gonna agree with that. John?
Dead end.
Okay, right. So let's go back to, is this year, 2026, the year of Assetto Corsa's resurgence? Well, John, you were hesitant, so let's go with you first. Why did you have the caveats?
Basically, going back to the comment from the Forza Horizon section, where we get excited about things and it can lead to disappointment. I think EVO has already started its resurgence. I think its full resurgence is likely to come in 2026, which is why I've gone with full send. However, I am also a little bit apprehensive that maybe the open world mode and things like that, there's so much excitement and hype for it. I am worried that if it delivers something that's just good but not completely engulfing for a long time, people might actually feel more disappointed. And it's just the excitement, really. I'm worried that the excitement is going to be too much for what's there. I hope I'm wrong, and that's why I've gone full send, because I still believe as a game as a whole, it's still going to be a resurgent year.
Your thoughts, Tom?
I think I believe in the team more than anything else. I think the team there we're fortunate enough that we've been to industry events where we've met a lot of that team. Both the guys that are working on the multiplayer as well as the ones who are working on the base game and the campaign and the open world, blah, 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 blah. And they are all sim racers. They are all passionate car people. And, you know, we've spoken to them kind of off the record, and they acknowledge like all the errors that they've made. They're not sat there thinking, "Oh, this is perfect. We don't know why people don't like it." Like they get the issues that they've had on launch, and I just think that they're an incredibly talented team who will be doing absolutely everything they can to make it a resurgence. And I think they've had enough time to rebuild what they had to rebuild in 25 to make 26 the year of its resurgence. And despite the rocky start, I do believe that the last 15 odd years of Assetto Corsa and how kind of pivotal that's been in our world will carry weight when it comes to forgiveness by the community. And I think the Assetto Corsa name is strong enough to kind of to carry a resurgence.
Well, both extremely valid points. Well said. And here's why I disagree. No, I'm going to disagree on a technicality. I think 2027 is the year when it finally comes together in resurgence. I just have a feeling everything you said there, Tom, was so right. That they're doing the right things. They understand what's happened. And I still feel there's still an element of this is going to be an amazing game that turns around. So I still actually believe in the project. But we saw it at the Sim Racing Expo last year when they said the free roam is going to be early next year. And then it came to January and there was a trailer that said free roam coming 2026. I was like, hang on a minute. The word early has disappeared a bit there.
Yeah.
So, could be wrong. I feel like it will have a resurgence, but it's just going to be next year.
Well, of course, it would have been sooner if they didn't take all of their developers away to make AC Rally, right?
Which still gets people are still confused by the fact that it's a different studio.
I know. And just because I feel like I need to, that was sarcasm.
It was all good. You didn't have to
We
say
need a
that.
sarcasm buzzer.
Right. NASCAR, will there be another game or not? And the reason I think this is posited is because there has been some burnout on yearly sports franchises releases, and Formula One this year has taken a year off, quite unprecedented for them. And also the World of Outlaws games, which were under iRacing, did do the year on, year off scenario. I can't remember what either of you said. So, Tom.
We're very much in the era of live service games, and we've seen the F1 go in that direction. iRacing has been this absolute rock that's just kept growing and growing and growing. I wouldn't be surprised if other games look at it, especially franchise games like NASCAR that's coming out every year, and go, "What? It's 1 year. We're going to have to do this. Why not? Why not let it be this year?"
So I've gone full send, and I'll just say very quickly, Dale Jr. And Tom, you can explain why.
This is what I asked. This is why.
Good old Dale. Good old Dale. Tell us why.
Well, NASCAR legend, railroad driver, but also a part owner of iRacing, I believe, or an investor. And he was put in some sort of creative role for the NASCAR 25 game, right? It's also a quite handy marketing thing when you've got someone who owns such a NASCAR podcast empire these days to be talking about the NASCAR game. So, clever move. No, I'm with you there, Tom. I think the right thing to do is have the year off. Especially because the response for NASCAR 25 was, it's great for a NASCAR game, but, in the pantheon of official motorsport games, it's okay. Nothing special. And there's quite a few things to work out I would like to see, like especially the online modes dramatically improved and things. And I worry that, have they got enough time? Bearing in mind, they released a significant update to the existing game just a week ago from when we're recording. But he put a tweet out saying, I want your input on the soundtrack for the next NASCAR game. Thus, in my opinion, kind of confirming that it's happening. And I also started thinking, well, okay, it's a fun little thing for the community. You need to get some feedback on the music, but it's not the most important thing, guys. Come on.
Also,
really care about the soundtrack.
It doesn't mean it's coming this year. It just means it's a work.
It doesn't.
I think if you're thinking about if the music's concerning you at this point, yeah, exactly. That's why I said
it's a lower priority thing, isn't it? So, like, if it's got to the stage now where you're thinking about the music, could be wrong. All right, we'll move on to the next one. So, basically, I'm with you there, Tom. It shouldn't be. I wish it wasn't, but maybe it is. And then we'll go to Endurance Motorsport Series. So I will start with this one. I went full send, basically because I think they got burnt with Test Drive and the game was delayed. So I think they're going to have to... It has to. Otherwise, we're going to be clickbaity and say it could be the end of KT Racing. I hope not. No, I'm not going to say that. But it has to be after the lessons learned from Test Drive. Yeah, I did say it then. Right, Tom.
I also just on that point, right? So we saw Endurance Motorsport Series in, was it Gamescom 2024?
Yes. Yeah.
Right, and at that point, it was a fairly, I don't want to say polished, but it was a decent experience at that point, right? And I think they've probably been sat on a game that they could release for a long time, but are choosing not to. Because of exactly what you just described, right? I also think it's very novel. They are daring to be different. Which, if I was them, because you can't point at another version of it in the market because it just doesn't exist. You can't be assured that it's going to work, right? So you've got to really, I don't know. I would be putting in that extra 10% to really make sure. I feel like it's one of those concepts that could either fly or flop.
Yeah, totally.
I think that's why that extra 10% difference could sway it to the 10%. And actually, it's a very it's a very kind of this isn't a word, but I'm going to make it up, right? And very expoable game, right? So you can imagine at Sim Racing Expo in Frankfurt next year them having those big pit walls. So if for those of you who don't know what the concept of the game is, you run an endurance racing team, and your kind of primary view is the pit wall, where you can see your telemetry, the weather radar, you can see the drivers on board, but you can go in and drive, and then you can jump to the pit wall. And it's a very interesting game. And so every time we've seen it at a bank of kind of 6 screens, and it's all split up amongst the different screens. And I don't know, I just think it could be quite an impressive launch. And I think the deeper and deeper that sim racers in general get into this genre, the more they care about things like pit stop strategy and endurance racing strategy. Like for anybody who's done an iRacing endurance race, one of the beautiful things about that experience is not the driving, because you can do that on any race. It's the fact that you're sat there with 1 or 2 mates thinking about the strategy and when you're going to pit and what the weather's doing. And it takes all of the fun stuff around racing and makes it the focus of the game. So, a long way of saying, I think they are waiting to invest more time and resources into this being an impressive launch.
So you're leaning on the fact there, Tom, that it's going to be a slick launch because they're going to be putting a lot into it and things. I think I'm more looking at it from the game specifically, in terms of why I've gone dead end. I think KT Racing had a pretty steady run with the WRC games from 5 onwards, and by the time they got through WRC 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, these games weren't perfect, but I think that was a fairly well-oiled machine at that point. It was a fairly slick process. They kind of knew what was going on. So in my head, is this going to be slicker than that? I really don't think it is, and I hope it is. I hope I'm proven wrong, but this game is so unique, and there are so many different elements that I think people will be there's space there for people to misunderstand what this game is going to be. I think there's so many different elements to it. There's some really interesting elements to it, and I think it's cool to see something totally different and totally unique. But trying to combine all these games into one package and market that in a way that it actually gives off what it is, without maybe sounding like, this isn't going to be, how do you say, this probably isn't going to be the best sim ever made for driving, and it's a management game, but also the management stuff's mixed with it. Like, how do you choose where to focus that energy? And I'm just a little worried that the marketing might look slick, but the game could confuse people, and I wouldn't be surprised if, therefore, it was a little bit messy. But I really do hope I'm wrong.
Well, yeah, I think we all want a good game to come out. It's just there's some rockiness recently. What I would say is this. There was an online beta or multiplayer test, I think, in December last year. That's good to do that. And also, I think it was slated for early this year, but there isn't actually a release date yet, and we're already at the end of January. So that leads me to suggest that hopefully they've got enough bandwidth to just release it when it's ready. Like, no pressure to slap a date on it. I mean, there might be a date by the time this podcast is out, but at the minute, as it stands, that's it. So we should wrap into our final section, which is your community questions. Now, we put a post out on the YouTube community on the Traxion GG YouTube channel, and also on our social media. That is Threads, Blue Sky, Instagram, Facebook, X, Twitter, Discord. And then also on the Discord. If you join the Discord, which is simply just traxion.gg/Discord, if you put that in your browser, it will take you to the invite. You can just join in. And there is a podcast area in there where people can discuss. We're going to go through just a couple of these each week to discuss, pick out some of the best ones. And we'll start with Hayden James on X or Twitter. What sim-related news would actually create this level of hysteria? You're all clickbaited. So this is quite funny. This is to do with the newsletter, isn't it, Tom?
Yeah, so long story short, this is a short announcement email that got out of hand. So breaking news, guys, the Traxion GG email newsletter that had been going out every Friday morning will now come out on a Tuesday. So last Thursday, I was like, well, okay, I'm not gonna do 2 newsletters right back to back. So I'll just do a quick one last Friday to say newsletter is now shifting to Tuesday. And then I thought, wouldn't it be funny if we made out like this is a crazy big news deal? And then I reached out to Dave Cam, Boosted Media, Jardier, Williams F1 team, F1 sim racing team, Huysenveld, to get quotes on this amazing news and how it was going to affect their life. Huysenveld were going to change up their production schedule to take into account this new newsletter scheduling. Anyway, it was a bit of a silly joke that got out of hand, and the newsletter ended up being quite long. And the subject letter for the newsletter was biggest sim racing news in history, which in hindsight, maybe was a bit clickbaity, but it was meant to be kind of ironic. Anyway, so the newsletter is now coming out on Tuesdays.
That's traxion.gg/newsletter if you want to sign up. But within this point, there is obviously a question, which is which sim-related news would be actually the biggest news in the world? And for me, I'll just go quickly with mine that I just thought of off the hoof now. Seeing as Hayden is Australian and proud Australian and loves when Australian cars are represented in games, I'm going to say that iRacing actually then makes not just IndyCar and NASCAR games, but a Supercars game, which is formerly V8 Supercars, the Australian Touring Car Series with the Bathurst 1000. They've got all the rights to the content for their sim. The main iRacing platform. I'd love it if they actually did dedicated console and PC game for that championship.
I'm going to say R Factor 3. R Factor 3 now with the success of Le Mans Ultimate for sim racing specific folk. We had Assetto Corsa EVO as the big Assetto Corsa 2 announcement, and that was huge. I think to get that sort of level of hysteria, unless they say Gran Turismo is coming to PC and Gran Turismo 8 is going to be PC only, or not PC only, sorry, on PC.
Well, that would be the biggest news.
That would be only would be the very Xbox exclusive. No, Gran Turismo 8 on PC would be major, but in terms of sim racing specific now, R Factor 3, given how successful Le Mans Ultimate is becoming.
I'm going to say the advent of perfect mixed reality. And what I mean by that is VR, right, I think is so close to being just one of the most incredible gaming experiences of all time, right? Especially with sim racing. It's just so beautifully lined up. You put your headset on, you're in the car. Problem with that at the moment is frame rates aren't great. It can be a little bit blurry. Your focus point can be a bit off. And if you've just spent £500 on a wheel, you now can't see the buttons. If you've got a button box, you can't see the button box. If you had perfect mixed reality, so that everything outside of the cockpit was being generated by the game, but inside of the cockpit was the rig you bought, I just think it would elevate sim racing to a whole new gaming experience.
Wow, that was big thinking. Big thinking. That's the sort of thinking you get from a CEO, that is. So there. So we'll wrap up. We're coming to the end of this first episode. I just wanted to, it's not for us to necessarily discuss, but I want to pick out one of the comments that Matt Odell said on Facebook. No, not the one with the piano. That is Tom Odell. So why hasn't Forza Horizon come up with the idea of extreme road trip mode where tyre wear and real world MPG are a thing and you must pay for them? And I just thought this was a nice way of wrapping up because it's Forza Horizon and also Assetto Corsa EVO, because I believe some of the plans for the open world bit for Assetto Corsa EVO would be you have to charge an electric car or pay for gas. And so let's see if they do that in the future. And maybe that's where it is. Forza Horizon is too sort of broad and accessible, although they did tease some tyre wear thing.
Cosmetic only, we should say.
Yeah, exactly.
Which caught me because I looked at the photo and went, oh wait, no, it was cosmetic only. Okay.
Yeah, it was such a little, that's not really a thing. And Evo could be the one that does it. So maybe, Matt, it would be something separate. Okay, that has been Traxion Control Podcast for this week. We're going to be on the Traxion Control dedicated YouTube channel, cross-ported to our main YouTube channel. So please do subscribe. We're trying something different. And if it doesn't work, we'll change. Also, that's why your feedback is really important in the comments. We will also publish this to Spotify and Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts, Amazon Music, all your favorite things. So please like and review there. But for now, thanks to Tom and John. We'll see you next week.